There is a very specific kind of sickening, hollow silence that hits your chest when you realize your entire future has just been stolen right out of your hands. Standing in front of the academic disciplinary board, looking at my department dean, I was told that the 6 months of blood, sweat, and sleepless nights I had poured into my final degree thesis did not belong to me. It belonged to the girl standing 3 feet away, wearing an expensive designer jacket, dabbing fake tears beneath her mascara, and claiming with a straight face that I was a pathetic fraud who tried to copy her brilliance. She thought she had committed the perfect crime. She thought she was completely untouchable. But what she did not realize was that every single keystroke in this modern world leaves an indelible digital ghost. And I was about to summon every single one of those ghosts to burn her entire fabricated world to the ground. If you have ever felt the raw, suffocating anger of being betrayed by someone you trusted, only to watch them get caught in the jaws of their own trap, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and settle in. This is a story about entitlement, betrayal, and the sweetest, most calculated digital takedown you will ever hear. My name is Nicole. 2 years ago, I was in the final semester of my master's degree in sustainable urban architecture at a prestigious coastal university. It was the kind of program where your final thesis project did not just determine your grade, it determined your entire life. Top architectural firms and major urban development syndicates scouted directly from our final presentation hall. The top 3 students were guaranteed 6-figure starting contracts, immediate project management roles, and international fellowships. I did not come from wealth. My parents ran a small dry cleaning shop 2 states away, working 12-hour days just to help keep me afloat. I survived on a combination of academic scholarships, student loans, and a part-time job working 20 hours a week as a campus computer lab technician. Every single penny mattered. Every minute of sleep was a luxury I could rarely afford. And then there was my apartment roommate, Talia. Talia was the exact opposite of everything I stood for. Her father was a powerful commercial real estate developer in the city, a man whose name was plastered across billboards, transit hubs, and luxury high-rises. Talia treated university like an extended, all-inclusive vacation. She rolled through the front door at 4 in the morning smelling of expensive gin and imported perfume, left half-eaten takeout containers rotting on the kitchen counter, and treated our shared suite like her personal dumpster. She was enrolled in the exact same master's program as me, but while I lived inside the drafting studios, Talia spent her weeks vacationing in tropical resorts or hosting VIP parties. Whenever project reviews rolled around, she used an endless cycle of manipulative excuses, dramatic crying fits in professors' offices, and subtle hints about her father's potential donations to skate by with passing marks. She despised me simply because I refused to cater to her ego. I remember one morning in early February when she watched me blending cheap instant coffee at dawn while she was stumbling in from a night out. She leaned against the kitchen doorframe with a smirk and said, "Nicole, honey, you are stressing yourself out for absolute crumbs. You work like a pack mule. Real winners do not break their backs. They know how to handle people." I did not give her the satisfaction of an argument. I simply put on my noise-canceling headphones, packed my heavy workstation laptop into my bag, and walked out the door into the cold morning air. I did not care about her patronizing comments. I had one singular mission: to finish my capstone project. My project was titled the Helios Nexus. It was a comprehensive, 120-page urban redesign integrating self-cooling passive infrastructure for high-density coastal regions. It was not just a theoretical paper. It was a massive, intricate engineering beast containing proprietary 3-dimensional computer models, complex airflow vector simulations, and custom Python automation scripts that I had written myself during quiet night shifts in the computer lab. For 6 straight months, the Helios Nexus consumed my existence. I barely saw daylight. My knuckles were perpetually stiff from typing, and my eyes burned from staring at rendering queues until 3 in the morning. By mid-April, with the final submission deadline exactly 1 week away, I finally saved the finished master build. The complete project file was immense, holding nearly 5 gigabytes of custom assets, vector data, and raw simulation logs. I backed it up onto my local secure partitions, shut the machine down, and went to bed feeling a profound, bone-deep sense of relief. I truly believed the hardest part was behind me. I had no idea that my nightmare was only just beginning. It all started on a rainy Tuesday morning, exactly 4 days before the final submission portal was set to close permanently. I woke up early, planning to do one last visual pass over the exported document before uploading it to the university's evaluation portal. I reached out to my desk where my workstation laptop always sat plugged into its dock. The desk was empty. A cold jolt of adrenaline shot through my veins. I tore apart my bedroom, checked under the mattress, searched the bathroom, and emptied my backpack onto the floor. Nothing. Heart pounding, I walked over and banged on Talia's bedroom door. She cracked it open slowly after a long minute, wrapped in a silk robe, glaring at me with irritated eyes. I asked her if she had seen my laptop, explaining that it was missing from my desk. She blinked slowly, let out an exaggerated sigh, and asked why on earth she would ever touch my beat-up brick of a computer. She told me I was probably scatterbrained from staying up late and that I had likely left it in the campus lab. I told her that was impossible because I had used it right at my desk before going to sleep. She sneered, told me that maybe I should learn to lock my bedroom door, and slammed hers right in my face. I spent the next 6 hours tearing across campus in the pouring rain. I checked every lost and found desk, retraced my steps through the library, searched the lab benches, and begged campus security to pull the security camera feeds for my residential building. But the hallway cameras in our wing were undergoing maintenance, showing nothing but static. My machine had simply vanished into thin air. When I finally returned to the apartment that afternoon, soaked to the bone and on the verge of tears, I found Talia sitting comfortably on the living room sofa, scrolling through her phone. In the corner of the room, shoved halfway under a pile of her designer laundry bags near the front entrance, was my black laptop sleeve. I lunged forward, grabbed the sleeve, and pulled my machine out. I demanded to know why my laptop was buried under her laundry. Talia did not even look away from her phone screen. She casually said that the hallway cleaning staff must have accidentally kicked it under the runner rug outside, and that she had merely grabbed it off the floor on her way inside. She told me I should be thanking her instead of raising my voice. Her tone was chillingly indifferent. I rushed straight to my desk and booted the machine up. My stomach turned to ice when the screen illuminated. The system warned me that the machine had been locked out due to multiple failed password attempts before a successful administrator bypass had occurred. I entered my secondary recovery credentials, bypassed the lockout screen, and immediately opened my primary project folder. The folder for the Helios Nexus was completely empty. Not just moved, and not just renamed. The entire directory had been wiped clean. The desktop shortcuts were broken, the working cache was cleared, and the recycle bin had been purged using an aggressive third-party data cleaner. I sat there in the silence of my room, staring at the flashing cursor on an empty screen, feeling the blood drain completely from my face. 6 months of non-stop labor, my entire degree, my scholarships, and my future job prospects had vanished with a few clicks of a mouse. For a moment, I could barely breathe. But then, the initial wave of panic gave way to pure, cold reality. Whoever had accessed my laptop knew enough basic computer tricks to empty a visible recycle bin and run a cleanup tool. But they were completely ignorant when it came to deep data architecture and systems redundancy. Talia did not realize that because I worked as a campus network technician, I understood how digital infrastructure truly functioned. My workstation was linked to a private, time-stamped version control server hosted deep inside the university's internal computer science network. Every single modification, draft save, vector calculation, and code iteration I had made over the preceding 6 months had been continuously logged, hashed, and stamped down to the microsecond on a secure remote server. Within 2 hours, I pulled down the complete archive, verified the integrity of the data, and restored all 5 gigabytes of the Helios Nexus onto my drive. The next morning, 3 days before the official deadline, I submitted the master files directly through the university's academic portal. The confirmation green checkmark appeared, the automated receipt landed in my student email, and I exhaled a breath I felt like I had been holding for days. I assumed that was the end of it. I thought Talia's petty attempt to sabotage my work had failed. I was completely wrong. Her sabotage was far more calculated and malicious than I could have ever imagined. Less than 24 hours later, an urgent, red flag notification appeared in my student inbox. It was an emergency summons from the Dean of Architecture, Dr. Robert Sterling, and the University Academic Integrity Disciplinary Board. The subject line read, "Immediate academic misconduct hearing regarding capstone plagiarism." When I pushed open the heavy oak doors of the fourth-floor executive conference room, the atmosphere inside was thick with tension. Dr. Sterling sat at the head of a massive conference table, flanked by 2 senior faculty department heads and the university's legal representative. Sitting on the opposite side of the table was Talia. She was dressed in a modest white blouse, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief and sniffling softly. Sitting beside her was a man in an impeccably tailored 3-piece suit, resting his hands on a leather briefcase, her family's high-powered personal attorney. Dr. Sterling looked up at me as I entered, his expression heavy with disappointment. He gestured toward an empty chair and asked me to sit down. I took my seat, my hands resting calmly on the table, and asked what the meeting was regarding. Dr. Sterling sighed and explained that earlier that morning, the university's automated integrity software had flagged a catastrophic 99.8% duplicate match between my submitted capstone project and another student's file. He rotated a large tablet across the polished wood toward me. Displayed on the screen were the blueprints, simulations, and written text of the Helios Nexus. Talia's attorney leaned forward, his voice calm, smooth, and deliberately intimidating. He stated that his client, Talia, had officially uploaded this exact capstone project to the portal yesterday afternoon at precisely 2:15 in the afternoon. He noted that I had submitted the identical project 6 hours later, at 8:45 that evening. He looked directly at the dean and argued that given the clear submission timeline, they were dealing with a brazen, premeditated theft of intellectual property. He claimed his client was emotionally devastated by the betrayal of her roommate, and he firmly stated that they were prepared to file civil and criminal charges for fraud if the university did not immediately expel me from the institution. I slowly turned my head and looked directly across the table at Talia. For a fraction of a second, she lowered the handkerchief from her face. Behind her fake tears and trembling lips, she shot me a cold, venomous smirk. In that moment, the entire puzzle clicked into place. She had not stolen my laptop just to delete my work. She had watched me enter my password over weeks of living together, broken into my computer while I slept, copied my master archive onto her portable drive, and then wiped my local drive so that I would have nothing left to submit. Then, she had turned my project in under her own name first, knowing full well that the university's automated system would flag the second submission as the plagiarized copy.
She did not just want to pass the class.
She wanted to ensure that I was disgraced, stripped of my degree, and thrown out of the university so that she could claim all the accolades and job offers for herself. Dr. Sterling leaned over his desk, looking at me with tired eyes. He said that system timestamps do not lie. He asked me directly how I could explain uploading a project that was structurally and textually identical to the one submitted 6 hours earlier by my roommate. Talia let out a soft, theatrical sob. She looked at the faculty panel and claimed that she had trusted me as a friend, suggesting that I must have secretly accessed her flash drive while she was in the shower. The audacity of her lie was staggering. The room fell completely quiet, everyone waiting for my breakdown, my excuses, or my confession. Instead, I took a slow, measured breath. The lingering tension in my shoulders vanished, replaced by an intense, razor-sharp focus. I looked at Dr. Sterling and asked if I had permission to connect my workstation laptop to the conference room's presentation display. Talia's attorney immediately objected, waving his hand dismissively and claiming that this was unnecessary theater when the portal submission logs were already definitive proof of priority. Dr. Sterling held up his hand to silence the lawyer and told me to proceed. I pulled my heavy laptop from my bag, plugged the central display cable into the port, and the 80-inch monitor on the wall came alive. I looked at the board members and said that Talia was entirely correct about one fundamental rule: timestamps do not lie. However, the timestamp on a submission web portal only represents the final 5 seconds of a 6-month creative journey. And to see the truth, We needed to examine the raw forensic metadata. I opened the core architectural archive and brought up the full diagnostic metadata tree, projecting it directly onto the screen for the entire board to see. I explained to the committee that modern engineering and three-dimensional drafting software does not simply generate pretty pictures and text. Every single time a project file is saved, modified, or rendered, the underlying software engine logs the unique hardware identifier, the motherboard serial code, and the operating environment of the machine that processed it. I zoomed in on the root XML code of the master file that Talia had submitted to the university. I pointed to line 4102 of the manifest. The raw code clearly showed that the project was originally generated on November 12th of the previous year at 3:14 in the morning on a machine registered under Hardware Identification Code WS, NIC 992. I opened the university's own internal equipment registry and showed that this exact serial code belonged to the high-performance workstation issued directly to me under my academic scholarship. Talia's smirk instantly froze. The color began to slowly drain from her face. I continued through the console, explaining that over the course of 184 days, this specific project had undergone 1,420 separate modifications and saves. Because my laptop was linked to the campus computer science server, every single one of those saves was automatically pushed to an encrypted version control repository signed with my personal student credentials. I scrolled through months of logged revisions. I showed the board the structural draft lines from December, the failed wind tunnel simulations from January, the code corrections from February, and the final rendering passes from March. Every single action was mapped out, step by step, date by date, long before Talia had even begun attending her spring classes. Then, I opened the forensic file properties of the document Talia had uploaded at 2:15 the previous day. I pointed out the stark, undeniable numbers on the screen. Talia's file showed an absolute creation timestamp of Tuesday, April 14th, at 4:18 in the morning, the exact morning my laptop had gone missing from my bedroom. The file had been created via a single, bulk copy-paste command onto a generic USB drive. Most damning of all, the total active software editing time recorded inside Talia's file was precisely 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. The room became so quiet that you could hear the hum of the overhead lights. I turned around, looked Talia directly in her wide, panicked eyes, and asked her a simple question in front of the board. Could she explain how she spent 6 months developing a master architectural thesis when her file's total active editing history was less than 4 seconds, compiled on my personal laptop while I was asleep? Talia's attorney looked at the massive screen, looked down at his legal pad, and slowly capped his pen. Without saying a single word, he closed his folder, placed it back into his briefcase, and leaned back in his chair, completely abandoning his defense. Talia began to hyperventilate. Her hands trembled violently as she looked between the dean and the screen. She stammered that the data did not prove anything, claiming that I was a computer lab technician who had somehow hacked the network and forged the records to frame her. At that moment, the head of the university's IT infrastructure department, who was sitting beside the legal advisor, spoke up firmly. He stated that the version control logs were cryptographically signed and stored on the university's root mainframe. To alter or forge those historical records, an individual would need administrative root access that no student or lab assistant could ever possess. He confirmed that the data was absolute, authentic, and tamper-proof. Dr. Sterling slowly rose from his chair, his expression filled with profound fury. The disappointment that had initially been directed at me was now focused entirely on Talia. He looked at her and said that she had walked into this hearing, brought private legal counsel, made false accusations against an honorable student, and attempted to steal 6 months of intellectual property to fraudulently obtain a master's degree. Talia sprang to her feet, knocking her chair backward onto the floor. She began sobbing hysterically, begging the dean for mercy and frantically bringing up her father's influence and upcoming meetings with the board of trustees. She pleaded with me, crying out that we were friends and begging me to tell the panel that she had simply borrowed my work with permission. I looked at her with complete calm and told her that I had given her nothing, that she had broken into my computer, destroyed my local files, and tried to ruin my life without a second thought. The disciplinary committee did not hesitate. Given the severity of the intellectual property theft, the tampering with university-registered hardware, and the false legal threats made against another student, the board bypassed all standard academic probation measures. Talia was formally expelled from the university on the spot. All of her academic credits for the semester were completely nullified, and an irrevocable permanent record of disciplinary expulsion for academic fraud was stamped directly onto her official transcript. Her attorney stood up, quietly offered a brief apology to the faculty panel for wasting their time, and exited the room, leaving Talia screaming and crying uncontrollably on the floor. The consequences did not stop in the boardroom. Because Talia had committed unauthorized tampering with university property, the housing department immediately revoked her campus residency privileges. She was given exactly 2 hours under direct security supervision to clear her possessions out of our shared suite. I remember standing quietly by the kitchen counter, drinking a warm cup of coffee, as 2 uniformed campus security officers stood guard while Talia threw her expensive clothes, perfumes, and shoes into black plastic garbage bags. Her eyes were red, her mascara smeared across her cheeks, and she glared at me with absolute venom as she dragged her luggage out into the hallway. But she could not utter a single word. The door clicked shut behind her, and for the first time all year, the apartment was completely peaceful. The following week, the annual graduate capstone showcase took place in the Grand Exhibition Hall. The Helios Nexus was awarded first place across the entire engineering and architecture department. It received the dean's highest commendation for sustainable innovation, and during the showcase dinner, the senior partner of a premier architectural engineering firm approached me with a direct employment offer. The contract included a substantial signing bonus, which allowed me to immediately pay off my mother's medical expenses and settle my remaining student loan balance before I even walked across the graduation stage. As for Talia, the fallout was absolute. Her father's real estate company suffered significant public embarrassment when local business journals caught wind of the prominent developer's daughter being expelled for digital theft and academic fraud. Her professional reputation in the metropolitan design sector was completely destroyed before it even began. Because of the permanent fraud flag stamped on her transcript, no accredited graduate architecture program in the country would accept her transfer applications. A year later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that her father had completely removed her from any leadership positions in his company, forcing her to work as an entry-level receptionist at a remote regional office, far away from the prestige she had once taken for granted. She had believed that wealth, arrogance, and deceit could buy her a shortcut to success. She thought she could steal the sweat and sacrifice of someone else and claim the glory as her own. But she learned the hardest lesson of all. You can copy a file, but you can never copy genuine skill. And in the end, the digital truth will always come to collect the debt. Justice in this world does not always come instantly, but when you rely on facts, patience, and undeniable proof, truth has a way of cutting through every lie. People who build their lives on entitlement always forget that real effort leaves a footprint that no thief can ever truly erase. If watching a deceitful bully get completely dismantled by cold, hard data brought a smile to your face, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life revenge stories. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. What is the most satisfying time you saw someone get caught red-handed in a massive lie? Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next story.